Kalala Malak Yahweh, Wa Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachak, Wadash, and double honors to the elders of Jem Ruah, blessings unto those men, and blessings and salutations to the Akim out there in truth, pushing his word in all sincerity and in honesty. With that being said, Shalom Israel Barakatah. Today's lesson, the Draft Evasion. And when it comes to the definition of evasion, as you can see here, that is the act of physically escaping from something. And in this case, from the draft, from the mandatory conscription. But here we have an RT.com article about Ukraine's evasion of the draft. And the article goes on to say 650,000 fighting age men have fled Ukraine. Telegraph. The authorities in Kyiv have struggled to deal with widespread draft evasion throughout the conflict with Russia. Now, when it comes to this Ukrainian-Russian war, we all know that Russia has won. The thing is that Ukraine, along with those that backed them up, do not want to admit defeat and failure. The Russians have won that Ukrainian war despite all the heavy sanctions placed upon the Russians. That is because the Lord has chosen them to come up against Babylon the Great. In these end times, they have prophecy to fulfill. But the article goes on to say at least 650,000 Ukrainian men of fighting age have fled the country since the conflict with Russia escalated in 2022, the Telegraph reported on Thursday. Others are hiding inside Ukraine or bribing officials to avoid being sent to the front, as the military faces its worst manpower crisis yet, the newspaper wrote. But it says here that the officials are taking bribes. Ukraine has already lost if 650,000 Ukrainian men of fighting age. When it comes to that Ukrainian war, right now it's just grinding men and money being spent into a losing war. That's why a captured Ukrainian soldier, as you can see here, accused commanders of sending untrained troops into perilous missions with outdated weapons, treating them as cannon fodder. But wait a minute, I thought the United States was going to help them. That's why when it comes to Esau or Edom, the scripture of Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 12:10 has said, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. You see? They cannot be trusted. Further reading says, according to the report, draft evasion in Ukraine is tipping into crisis amid Russian advances into the Donetsk region. Earlier this week, Deep State, a monitoring group with ties to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, described the situation as chaotic, with Russian troops accumulating forces for further advancement. Kyiv's general mobilization, which mandates, and that word mandate stands for an official order or commission to do something, which mandates all able-bodied men aged 25 to 60 to serve in the armed forces, has failed to make up for ongoing battlefield losses and has led Ukrainian commanders to voice concerns over persistent manpower shortages. Now, according to Quora.com, this question was asked. Why does Ukraine continue to fight when they have already lost the war? Right, despite the heavy sanctions placed on the Russians, they still managed to come out on top of this Ukrainian war. This goes to show you that the Russians are well trained and well equipped. The Russians are a formidable opponent. And Hollow Laundry went on to say, because they are a bunch of brainwashed morons who think United States and NATO will save them from Russia due to their hatred toward Russia. You see? Right. He further says, look how kind United States and NATO are. They are saving Ukrainian from Russia by using them as cannon fodder and put them into coffins. So you see, now this image of the Ukrainian women mourning over their deceased husbands and sons is also spoken of in the scriptures. Let's go over to 2 Esdras 16 and 33, because that's also a draft scripture. Second Ezra 16 and 33, the virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. The daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. Right, because the women shall lose their men to the war, those husbands and sons. Just like you saw in the image of Korah, the Ukrainian women losing their men to the war and coming back in coffins. The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. And when we told you that a mandatory draft was coming, many did not believe. That mandatory military draft shall also come to America in the time of war, in that third world war, in that third woe. The small hats will be the ones to draw out the Americans to that final destructive war of Armageddon. Hebrew word Armageddon. Second Ezra 16 and 34. In the war shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. Right now, we are currently witnessing small wars taking place, but make no mistake, as soon as that deceitful CHIP of Revelation 13 and 16 is fully implemented upon society, upon the world, that third world war cometh quickly. In the war shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, especially in that third world war on a massive scale. On the day of that greater destructive war, no soldier will come home. Many women shall mourn in the wars over their deceased husbands, and the first job that Esau shall have is to bury those bodies. Esau Edom. Many women shall mourn in the wars over the deceased husbands, just like you saw when the women of Ukraine were mourning over the deceased in the Quora.com image. The time will come when the Lord, Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai of hosts, hosts meaning armies, shall muster the host of the battle in that final showdown of World War III. An inevitable third world war shall take place, but before that war to end all wars takes place, that CHIP of Revelation 13 and 16 must first take place. As soon as that CHIP of Revelation 13, 16 through 18 is fully implemented upon society, then that inevitable war to end all wars comes quickly. Husbands shall also perish of famine, and making women widows. Many women right now are without husbands due to them perishing in these small proxy wars, like the women of Ukraine, the women of Hamas also. But that inevitable war to end all wars will come quickly once that CHIP is implemented. Husbands shall also perish of famine, and making women widows. Many women right now are without husbands due to them perishing in these small proxy wars. That's why the scripture went on to say, the virgin shall mourn having no bridegrooms, the women shall mourn having no husbands, their daughters shall mourn having no helpers. You see, an inevitable third world war is coming. That's why the scripture of Revelation 11 and 14 says the following. Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. That's right. Meaning that the Second World War of destruction has passed, but the Third World War of destruction cometh quickly. Once they implement the CHIP, as soon as they implement that CHIP of Revelation 13, 16 through 18, then that destructive war cometh quickly. As soon as that CHIP is fully implemented upon the world, upon society, then that destructive and inevitable World War III follows quickly. The Lord Yahweh Yahushua has given Esau, Edom, the knowledge and technology of the sword, and has created the modern day smith in order to bring about the many weapons of his indignation, which is of his righteous anger. Right, those nuclear missiles of destruction, those arrows shall take out modern day Babylon the Great. And they shall also cleanse the land that the small hats now inhabit. Modern day Babylon the Great shall never rebuild, but the land that the small hats now inhabit shall rebuild to welcome in the true Israelites. The time cometh when the least of the flock shall draw out the Americans to that destructive Third World War. An inevitable Third World War is coming to modern day Babylon the Great, which is America. And when that war is declared, expect a mandatory draft to also take place for men and women. When it comes to that military conscription, that will also come to America when World War III is declared. A mandatory draft, a mandate, like you saw in Ukraine, like you see it now in Ukraine. But those 650,000 eligible men do not want to fight. Now, when it comes to those soldiers that partake in that destructive nuclear Third World War to come, none shall return. With that being said, Kal Olam Malak Yahweh Wa Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash, and double honors to the elders of GMS Ruel, blessings unto those men, and blessings and salutations to the Akim out there in truth, pushing this word in all sincerity and in honesty. With that being said, Shalom Israel, Barakatah. Shalom.